This is Tom Fox, and welcome to a new season of Adventures in Compliance. This season, we're going to take up the stories from the collection entitled His Last Beau, some reminiscences of Sherlock Holmes, which is a 1917 collection of previously published Holmes stories by Arthur Conan Doyle, including the titular short story, His Last Beau, the War Service of Sherlock Holmes. The collection's first edition adjusts the anthology subtitle to some later remembrances of Holmes. All of the editions contain a brief preface from Dr. Watson, which we will read in a little bit. The book itself, or the collection, was published by John Murray in October 1917 in the U.S. by George R. Doran the same year. The collection contains The Adventure of the Cardboard Box, which was included in the American first edition of the Memoirs of Sherlock Holmes, but dropped later. 6 of the stories were published in the Strand between 1608 and December 1913. His final story, His Last Beau, the War Service of Sherlock Holmes, is an epilogue about Holmes' war service and was first published in Collier's on September 22nd, 1917, one book before the book's premiere. There are some great stories in here, and I know you will enjoy them, and I hope you will enjoy this season of Adventures in Compliance really as much as I've enjoyed reading the stories. If you've enjoyed this series or enjoy Sherlock Holmes, I hope you'll subscribe, rate, and review this podcast wherever great podcasts are listened to. Adventures in Compliance is a production of the Compliance Podcast Network. We're going to have a quick word from our network sponsor, Ethico, then we'll be right back.
In the intricate world of ethics and compliance, each second is precious, and slow case closures are more than just delays, they're missed opportunities. Enter Ethico. Our solution revolutionizes case management, cutting case closure times in half and turning every challenge into a chance for improvement. Imagine a workspace where efficiency and compliance coexist harmoniously. Don't just dream of faster resolutions, make it your reality. Visit ethico.com/CPN today to book a demo and dive into our exclusive white paper by Tom Fox, 2023, The Year in Compliance. Empower your team with the tools they deserve.
So what has Arthur Conan Doyle been up to in this time period since The Adventures of Sherlock Holmes was released? Well, freed again from the demands of the character Sherlock Holmes, Doyle continued his novel writing career, all the time conscious that his wife's health was finally faltering. She had long outlived the gloomy prognosis which her initial sickness had been greeted, but on July 4, 1906, at age 49, Tui, his beloved wife, passed away. The effect this death had on Holmes, or rather on Conan Doyle, has long been argued over ever since. Some biographers and writers have argued he went into a steep decline, both as an author and as a thinker. Others see him embracing life and death much more fully than before, throwing himself into a dizzying world of social engagements, which, while using his renown and success to promote a number of cases and causes. He became a champion for what he perceived as victims of injustice. He became an avid proponent of spiritualism and the supernatural. He married his beloved and so patient Jean Lockley, and in August 1918, he gifted readers of the Strand with a brand new Sherlock Holmes story, the first which was described to be an occasional series, meaning Doyle would tell a story only when he believed he had a story to tell. Holmes had not been totally absent from the world. Late in 1905 saw the release of the first ever Holmes movie, an American production entitled Adventures of Sherlock Holmes, which unfortunately no longer exists. Little of the movie, or none of the movies, survives, but the full movie revolved around the kidnapping of a child and Holmes' attempt to rescue the child. So there's no certainty who played Holmes. Attempts to revisit the movie from press clippings and reviews therefore involve historians as much as a mystery as Holmes ever investigated. What of the real Holmes? Well, he sprang back into action in a tale so gripping that it was reportedly spread out over 2 episodes of The Strand to emerge as one of the detective's most satisfying adventures. So what of the preface from Dr. Watson. Well, the preface in full reads, "The friends of Mr. Sherlock Holmes will be glad to learn that he is still alive and well, although somewhat crippled by occasional attacks of rheumatism. He has for many years lived in a small farm upon the Downs 5 miles from Eastbourne, where his time is divided between philosophy and agriculture. During this period, he has refused the most princely offers to take up various cases, having determined his retirement was a permanent one. The approach of the German War, however, caused him to lay his remarkable combination of intellect and practical activity at the disposal of the English government, with the historical results being recounted in the book, His Last Beau. Several previous experiences have lain long in my portfolio and have been added to His Last Beau as to complete the volume. Signed, faithfully yours, Dr. John Watson." Compliance Podcast Network is sponsored this month by Ethico. Ethico is a leader for compliance champions like yourself with its ethics and compliance optimization system built to turn goals and guidelines into real ROI for your program. For more information and a special white paper, go to ethico.com/CPN. I hope you will join me through this entire series of the short stories of Holmes from The Last Beau. If you're a Holmes fan or you enjoy analogizing to compliance, leadership, and ethics, this is the podcast series for you. I hope you will take the opportunity to reread one or perhaps all of the short stories. They're short reads and a lot of fun. I'm going to be taking a deep dive into each one of them, looking at leadership lessons, ethical lessons, and or compliance lessons from each one. If you're a Sherlock Holmes aficionado like myself, I'd love to visit with you about some of your favorite stories and perhaps record a podcast or two with you on them. So please contact me. You can reach me through the website of the Compliance Podcast Network. Adventures in Compliance is a special production of the Compliance Podcast Network. And as I mentioned, we are sponsored this month by Ethico. So I hope you will check out the Ethico white paper that's available through their special link on that we put in the show notes that I mentioned earlier. This is Tom Fox. I'm greatly looking forward to the return of Sherlock Holmes. This is Tom Fox again. I hope you will join us next week where we take up the first story found in the collection of The Last Beau, which was a two-parter in the Strand Magazine, with The Adventure of Wisteria Lodge.
This podcast is a part of the C-Suite Radio Network. For more top business podcasts, visit c-suiteradio.com.